Hello everyone. I am continuing to come to you from the People's Republic of China, where I am scheduled to address a group of college students tonight on the topic of how Christianity has transformed civilization. So it's a very interesting trip and an ongoing adventure. I wanted to take up a topic that's been really big in the American press recently, and that is the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Assassination and martyrdom are regular Christian experiences in history and around the world. In every century and in every part of the globe where there are Christians, and the number of martyrs hasn't lessened as the world is modernized. When David Barrett first came out with his World Christian Encyclopedia, a massive work trying to number the Christians in the world, he said that the 20th century had seen more martyrs than any other century. In fact, he said, more Christians died for Christ in the 20th century than in all other centuries combined. All of this is in the news again because of the assassination of Charlie. He was killed by a leftist, pro-transgender 22-year-old because of his constant insistence on the biblical view of men and women. I've seen at least two articles recently comparing Kirk to the first martyr, Stephen, in Acts chapter 8. One writer said, as was Stephen in the early church, Kirk was slandered by his opponents, who were unable to answer his arguments. He was called a racist and a fascist. Today, a racist is someone who is winning an argument with a liberal, and a fascist means someone who can be justifiably murdered for his political views. Charlie joins a long line of Christians who have been murdered because of their faith. Currently, there are two films out about Christian martyrs. Maximilian Kolbe is a well-known figure who gave his life for others in a Nazi concentration camp. The film is still in theaters and is called Triumph of the Heart. And another film is entitled Last Days and is about John Allen Chau, who died trying to reach a tribal group on an island in the Indian Ocean. I remember as a boy sitting in my little Baptist church and hearing the announcement that 5 of our missionaries had been murdered in Ecuador. Last year, I produced a video about Davy and Natalie Lloyd, 2 American missionaries murdered by a Haitian gang. Moody Bible Institute keeps a record of their graduates who have been martyred for the Christian faith. The most recent that I know of is a young woman killed by Islamists in Jordan for ministering to the urban poor. Then, of course, there is Nigeria, the worst place in the world right now to be a Christian. Even the infidel Bill Maher has taken notice. On a recent show, he said, quote, I'm not a Christian, but they are systematically killing the Christians in Nigeria. They've killed over 100,000 since 2009. They've burned 18,000 churches. These are the Islamists, Boko Haram. This is so much more of a genocide attempt than what is going on in Gaza. They are literally attempting to wipe out the Christian population of an entire country, end quote. Writing for World Magazine, A.S. Ibrahim said, the global outrage machine is selective, and one of its favorite targets is Israel. When it comes to the relentless slaughter of Nigerian Christians by Islamist terrorists, the silence is deafening. According to Open Doors, a leading NGO tracking persecution, more Christians are currently being killed for their faith in Nigeria than in the rest of the world combined. Open Doors calls Nigeria the epicenter of targeted violence against Christians. I recommend you go to Open Doors' website. They rank the worst 50 countries in the world for anti-Christian persecution. 1800 years ago, the great early church father Tertullian looked across the landscape of the Roman Empire, saw the Christians dying for their faith, and uttered the famous words, quote, the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. God used the death of Christians to produce more Christians. Nothing has changed. Go online and listen to hundreds of testimonies of people who have given themselves for Christ because of Charlie Kirk's death. In Psalm 116, we read, precious in the eyes of the Lord is the death of his saints. They were precious 3,000 years ago, and they are precious today. Now is the time to renew our commitment to devoting every breath we take to the cause of Christ.